Welcome to the Saturday Night Mashup. Welcome. As you can see, Jason and I are joined by a bunch of interesting guests. It will make for an interesting conversation. To my right, about the only liberal with common sense on the planet, Rob Ambrose. Rob Enders. How do you want to be called, Tahina? Truth seeker? The girl that swears a lot? What do you want? Which one you go?
All of those definitely work. Because like the guys just make up nicknames on site for me. It's either Tiana or TJ or Tijuana or Chicken Little or the bitch, whatever works.
I'm gonna pick Ladies Man 217 for next one.
Oh boy, here we go.
Transformer.
And WireTap. And WireTap, what's going on?
How's it going?
What's going on? So let's do a quick round table just to introduce ourselves. Jason, if you want to start.
So Jason Lavigne, host of the Lavigne Show. You guys are probably pretty familiar with me right now. I'm on the road, so I'm a little bit casual because I had a long day of work. Hey, Rob, nice to see you again because just had your interview a few hours ago. And I'm in Calgary. I'm not at the We Unify event, but I poached a lot of the people that were there so I can get some interviews done. Heading home tomorrow. Can't wait to get back to the family. But I have the worst boss in the world, which is me, because I drive myself pretty damn hard. 7 interviews in one day. So I'm glad to be here with some good people, and I don't have to do all the talking tonight. I love it.
What do you
Rob Enders.
What's that, Rob?
Hold on, it's not about you yet. Hold on, Jesus. Round table, brother.
Holy shit, small talk.
I just did one of those interviews with Jason Lavigne. I'm at or will be attending, have been attending the We Unify conference. And I was an MP for 18 and a half years in Ottawa with first the Reform Party, then the Canadian Alliance, and then the Conservative Party.
Diana?
Well, I'm Tiana, truth seeker, and I tend to piss off a lot of liberals and politicians online of all sorts, and I don't really care. I just say whatever I want, and yeah, that's pretty much who I am. I also expose the elites and their bullshit, and I find documents that no one else has.
There you go. WireTap Media.
Yeah. Well, my name's Jason. WireTap, just online degenerate, filthy media, that sort of stuff. So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
And Rob Ambrose.
Yeah, so I'm, of course, Rob Ambrose. I co-host the Political Orphans with Nico here. I am the common sense liberal. There are a few of us left out there. The anti-woke liberal, you could consider me. And I was told we could smoke and drink on this show. Is this correct? Is that?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Well, you still can. Right?
So I came prepared. I've got my bong here.
All we ask is you take your dirty laundry from behind you, you fucking hobo.
Well, in my defense, I'm moving literally as we speak. Like I'm moving like in 2 days. So
to Alberta, where are you going?
No, I wish. Halifax. But
where are you now?
Yeah. I'm in Fredericton. I'm in New Brunswick.
Oh, okay.
The asshole of the country. There's literally.
I don't know, man.
There's nothing going on here, man.
Can't be worse. Oh, I thought you were meant like it can't be worse than Quebec because pretty much all the assholes are here. At least that's where I'm at, right? So Nico Lagan, co-host of the Political Orphans. Yeah. I host a show with that fucking guy right there. Political commentator, jackass, professional jackass. We'll get started. Seems like everybody's pretty relaxed, so we'll get started. Simple question. We'll start with Rob. What's your opinion of what happened with Jimmy Kimmel? Do
we go with Ambrose or
Rob?
Well, I don't care. The first one that starts talking. Maybe. Enders? Mr. Enders. Mr. Enders. I'll call you Mr. Exactly. Mr. Anderson.
Well, I feel that a lot of those late night talk show hosts have been leaning hard Democrat for a long time, and Fox News is the largest network in the United States because I think it taps into the broad base of the American electorate, the Midwest, the center of the country as opposed to the coasts. And I think that Kimmel and Colbert and some of those people, they appeal to the left coasts. That's what they do. And it doesn't surprise me that they're out of sync with mainstream America and they don't They don't honor somebody like Charlie Kirk. But the networks have to be concerned with what sells in Omaha, Nebraska, not just the west end of Hollywood.
Big A.
Yeah, great point. I think objectively, I think it was pretty weak sauce to sort of suspend someone for what he said. It was obviously not true, but it wasn't that egregious. I think bigger picture, though, I think liberals for the very first time are realizing that, oh shit, there's things they can't say now too. I think conservatives understood for quite a while now that they have to hide and cloak some of their opinions. The fact of the matter is the political left has had cultural dominance probably since Bill Clinton's election, I would say, of certainly America. And it kind of reminds me of a thing. I think a lot of people were surprised at how big this story was, the Charlie Kirk story. And for me, I know he's an important guy in this, but he's still a right-wing influencer, right? This has global cultural ramifications that's felt pretty out of proportion to the event itself. Certainly the fact that he was shot live on TV adds to it, no doubt. But even still, and I think the reason why it feels so big is I think when we look back in hindsight, that will be the moment. So you can point it to a week when the 30-year or 25-year reign of liberal cultural dominance came to an end. Now, I think you're probably going to see, and if you could really go back before that, there would been probably a 25 to 30-year conservative or right-wing dominance, cultural dominance that came about because of the excesses of the 60s and early 70s. So, if the trend holds true, probably another 25 years now of conservative dominance. But yeah, no, it's a pretty crazy story. And I know I went off topic because we're talking about Jimmy Kimmel. It's all connected, right? I don't think he should have been suspended for that. And I think if the right wants to cover itself in glory right now, they should be speaking up against people who are being kind of canceled or silenced for unpopular speech.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. I thought I was after somebody else. I honestly think they ran out of money, and this was a great excuse to have Jimmy Kimmel fired.
Sure.
Honestly, that's what I think it is. Late night shows are pretty much shit. No one listens to them anymore. And he said some pretty outrageous things. He's overpaid. So is their staff. And so I think this was a great way to get him fired and also rile up the left. And I think that this will be the left's or the liberals 2020, which it was for us, where we were canceled, shut down, had all of our jobs taken. And I honestly think that we need to push even harder just to have them wake up. I know people are saying, oh, you're just fueling this left-right dynamic, whatever, but the woke left are so beyond help that they actually need something so traumatic to happen to them to shake them up so that maybe after this, when they wake up, we can actually unite and go after the globalists, which are the actual people who are against us. So I think Jimmy Kimmel is just being canceled because his show sucks and he ran out of money. After all, it's all about money. I mean, he's pretty much called for the death of the unvaccinated in 2021, and he didn't get fired for that. So I find it really highly unlikely that his insensitive comment about Charlie Kirk is what got him canceled. I think his show sucks, and the producers were just waiting for an opportunity to shut it down without having to do a payout.
Wire?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't even know what Jimmy Kimmel said because I don't really pay attention to Hollywood when our government's fucking our country into the ground. But what I can say from my perspective is I don't think anyone should get canceled. And the reason why I think that is because I think on the right and left, what you're seeing is the right's getting canceled. Now the left's getting canceled, and they're just marching us into this, the same line where eventually they're going to take away everything we can say, period. And, being a free speech absolutist, I think that free speech is important. And, but I do believe it was a PR stunt more than anything. That's what I would gather from it. So that's my thoughts. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Nico?
Well, first I'm going to say, Diana, there's nothing like complaining about late night shows while being on a late night show. I just wanted to point out the irony here. I just thought I'd start with this. And the whole Jimmy Kimmel, Rob and I have spoken about this for a while this week, and I don't think he said anything that bad, frankly. I don't think it was. I've said a lot worse than he said to get canceled, but it's interesting that they're finally tasting their own medicine, because at the end of the day, the woke is who started cancel culture. It didn't exist until they made it a thing. And what's ironic about him complaining about losing his job is when Roseanne got canceled for saying stuff off camera, he was okay with her. He kind of made fun of her for losing her job, saying, you know what, that's not free speech. It's just consequences to your word. And I agree. Like, I'm, as WireTap said, I'm 100% an absolutist in free speech. I don't think the government should censor him. But having Disney, the wokest company in the US, fire a woke late night show host is just ironic to me. It's funny as hell. And remember, I posted about this week. Nobody cared when Don Cherry got fired from Sportsnet years ago, right? In 2019, when he said to foreigners that you guys don't respect ex-militaries, you don't respect veterans, you won't buy a poppy when you come here, you eat our honey. He got fired for this. 2019. He was a visionary to call those people. Oof, those are his words. To call those people. To call. But he called them out in 2019 before anybody else was even talking about this. Nobody cared. Nobody cared when Don Cherry actually got fired. No, not only did they care, they actually asked for him to be fired. And perfect example right now, Sean Foyt in Canada shows up here to speak about Jesus Christ, to sing about Christianity, gets all of his permits pulled outside of Alberta. But yet, that's okay. But they're going to lose their shit on Kneecap, that dumbass group out of Ireland that comes here and they're banned. But we have to set the line here. This is not acceptable. We cannot ban an Irish rap group that talks about hate every single day. But Don Cherry, it's okay. Kimmel, it's not okay. But Sean Foyt is also okay. Ridiculous, but ironical, because cancel culture didn't exist.
What's the common denominator between the things that are okay and the things that are not? I'm wondering.
Hate speech, my friend.
I'm about to get there. Yeah, because I'm going to take a different angle on this one. I don't.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm just trying to move this window now. I don't think it was the vileness of it. I don't think it was the offensiveness of it. It was the truth portion of it. I think because what we saw with Stephen King, he came out and said something that wasn't true. And that's what they're now attacking. They're conditioning us all that if they don't like, it doesn't matter if they like or don't like what you say. If what you say is not true, for example, the shooter was MAGA related, well, that's what they're coming after. Or you're Stephen King saying, hey, he called for the stoning of gay people. Well, that's not true. I think what they're doing is conditioning us for a truth department. And left, right, center, black, white, red, purple, won't matter. If you say something they don't think is true, that's where they're coming after you. And I think Stephen King was just a preamble to that, because he quickly came out to apologize. His movie bombed, and he got spanked pretty quickly. And it wasn't for the vileness of it. It was for the truth part of it. So I think they're trying to control truth and condition both sides on that side.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Bill. We'll talk about Bill C9 tonight, because that's one of the things that we need to address as Canadians. That bill is insanity, absolute insanity. And you're right. If you look at that bill, the hate speech bill that was dropped by Sean Fraser yesterday, I read through it today. It's not very long. It's literally like 5 pages, but I definitely want to address. I want to address it. I want to show you guys some screenshots of it if you haven't read it, because we're literally looking at life in prison, up to life in prison for a hate speech, hate crime, whatever you want to call it. They want to change the criminal code so that people like us can go to jail for a lifetime for words, for hurting people's feelings. That's a reality. So what Jason's saying is bang on. That's exactly what is going on. And you know, Jason, you say that all the time. It's not left versus right. It's top versus bottom. Like, it's top down, what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and I think they're conditioning all sides to understand you can't go against the narrative, you can't go against agenda. They're going to call that truth, misinformation, disinformation, and that's one more step to hate. So if the information that you're saying is untrue, and against a group, they're going to just call that straight up hate, and that's how
No.
they're going to connect you to a jail.
But what about when we have like irony poisoning or something of that nature? Where there's, because CSIS, the RCMP, they see this as a major threat to democracy, is where the truth is being told through comedy. And where does that fall into that?
Well, we've seen.
Go ahead, Jason.
We're just going to say we've seen in Canada with the Human Rights Commission that jokes can harm people and you can be shut down in Canada. So there is going to be no safety net of just saying it was just a joke or I'm the comic. That net is gone. And the late night hosts for the last 4 or 5 years, they haven't been comics. They've been commentary. It hasn't been funny for a long time. So even that shield, I think, is gone, Jason.
So shouldn't we just go back to, because we had laws in like media laws in 2019 that Trudeau wiped out, where the media was held accountable for being honest. And in this, I think it was in the States in the 70s or the 80s, they kind of reverted like media to be entertainment. So like, why don't we just make laws around our media? Like, I think someone like Jimmy Kimmel, if he's going to do like an opening act and he's going to talk about real world events, he should be accurate and he should be held under the law. Like, that's the thing is, when we start playing this game of cancel culture, that means like people like me and you, if we don't agree on a topic, I could be canceled for something I said, or I'm going to have the RCMP pounded on my door, throwing me in handcuffs because I said something that may not have been true or not verified or fact checked, or you said something of that nature. So this is what I'm kind of wondering is, because like everything is live now and everything is out in the open, like this show here, this is just like a group of people that are chatting with one another. Where do we draw the line?
Well, I
There
think
shouldn't be.
Well, there should be no line. That's where I'm going to go with this smaller government. The government shouldn't get involved in this. And that includes subsidizing and propping up media that in a free market would be gone. CBC wouldn't be here in a free market if they weren't propped up with billions of dollars. And you're talking about Bill C-39 in 2019 or whatever that Trudeau got rid of. That was the no propaganda law. Like you weren't allowed propaganda. And they got rid of that. That should have been a big red flag to a lot of people that he was doing that. But I think in a free market, CBC wouldn't survive. Because people don't like the truth. They actually wouldn't do it. So you get rid of government from media altogether. They don't belong there in the regulation, in the subsidy side of things. And when you create that dependency relationship, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So you know who's paying your bills and you don't go after them. I'm going to throw this to Rob Anders because he spent a lot of time in the hall, 16 years, I think it was, or 6 terms. He understands how this kind of stuff works. So Rob, were you in the House at the time that Trudeau started to remove some of this?
I'm trying to think if it came just after me, I think, because I was out in 2015. And I think he obviously, I was with Harper and then Trudeau came afterwards. But, just to speak to the media in Ottawa, anytime you would look up at the National Press Gallery, I'm going to say that there were 3 rows, each of about 12 seats. So let's say 36 in total. The only time it was ever filled out was like on Wednesday question period because it was the middle of the week. But if you looked up at that crew, there were only a couple of them that you might consider conservative. Almost everybody up there was Liberal NDP, to be honest. We had Katie O'Malley, who was a fiscal conservative, though she, was a lesbian. So she wasn't a social conservative. We had Andrew Coyne, who it certainly considers himself a conservative. His sister was the one who sought out Pierre-Elliott Trudeau at a Liberal convention to have his love child. So but there were hardly any real conservatives there. So it was a very stilted kind of take on the news. There was no real fair shake per se. I think the only outlets that I would consider is some of the independent media, like, Rebel News and, some of these others. But in Ottawa, there was really nothing for conservative media whatsoever.
And is that why
was
they
10
didn't
years
speak
ago.
up?
And that was 10 years ago, right? Imagine
That
now.
Yeah, it's worse.
Damn.
It's worse now because of government funding, the government
Yeah.
tit.
Yeah.
That these people are. I mean, there was something that Dr. Charles Hoff said today at the conference, which was, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you've got the government that's handing out these subsidies to the media, well, of course they're going to be cognizant of that and be careful not to criticize the government the hand that feeds them. We really, we don't have freedom of the press in Canada anymore. We don't even really have freedom of speech. I can think of somebody who you all would know as a significant media person, who literally has jumped jobs and is transitioning out of media because this person, who is a decades-long journalist, realizes that this law will be used to come after him and others, and so he doesn't want to spend the whatever years he has remaining of his career fighting lawsuits or fines or jail time.
Wow.
You're talking about this new bill? Are you talking about the bill that dropped
Yeah.
yesterday? Is
That's
that what you're
correct.
talking about?
Is it
That's correct. Yeah.
C-39, is it? Is that what it is?
No, it's a Bill C9. It's called,
Okay.
I got the actual term. It's called the Combating Hate Crime Act
This
is
is
the
the one that
name,
just
but
dropped.
the one that dropped yesterday that they had, Sean Fraser had a 30-minute press conference speaking about it. He literally took questions from journalists without journalists having the actual bill in hand. They even complained. They're like, how can we ask you questions
Well,
when
they'll
you
have to
didn't even...
pass it to have it in
Yeah,
hand, of course.
yeah, we don't even have...
We'll have to
No,
pass
but
it to read it.
they tabled it, but they didn't give a copy. It was tabled behind closed doors. They didn't get access to it, and they're like, "How can we ask you questions?" And after 30 minutes, Sean Fraser's like, "Oh, I gotta go. It's my anniversary tonight, and I don't want to miss my flight." And I'm not even kidding. He
Well,
literally cut a press conference about taking our speech away because he had to go back home, not to miss
yes,
his
because-
anniversary dinner with his husband. I mean, his wife.
because his personal holidays are more important than the government's or the country's business, of course. I feel like this whole idea of hate speech is a very, very slippery slope. Not only should it not really exist because there's only criminal speech and not criminal speech. Incitement to violence is actually illegal. Those things are already illegal. We don't need more laws. The problem becomes, it's one of those tricky things, right? Where in theory, it sounds great. Like, yeah, so you love hate speech. So you hate people. If you ever raise an objection, right? No, so you hate speech, or you love hate speech. No, it's not that. I just have a sense of history, and I know that pretty soon it's really going to be, hate speech is going to morph into speech the government doesn't like, or speech someone powerful doesn't like, whether that's a corporation or the government. And I think WireTap Media had mentioned, going to jail for words, and there's still a large number of people who think that is some dystopian thing that could never happen here. And it's like, motherfucker, look over across the pond. Like, we all see these videos of 7-year-old pensioners getting a knock on the door by 4 cops at 3 a.m. in the morning. And they'll say, it looks like they're reading from Monty Python script. He's like, we're here to arrest you because you've been offending someone. And it's like, this is real fucking life. And what usually happens, of course, is that they go to the station, they get held there for 12 hours, and then they get released for no charge because it took them that long to determine that, calling someone a fanny or whatever the fuck is actually not a crime. But there's a saying we say a lot in the political orphans with a lot of this authoritarian moves, is that the process is the punishment, right? It doesn't matter. Like, they'll say, oh, well, look, we released her, no charges, no harm, no foul. Yeah. But how many people do you think will be scared into silence? Most people are weak. You don't need to cut their legs off to scare them into silence. Arrest a neighbor and bring her in for 12 hours. That'll scare them into silence, because most people don't want to do that. And most people are scared of that shit. They're like, the personality type required to do something knowing they're going to haul you down to the station is not a common one. And so, yeah, like it's the new fuck, the word fails me, but whatever, when dictators start like actually murdering their, Tyranny, yeah, it's the new tyranny where, yeah, you're not getting the rack anymore. You're just getting dragged down to the Met. But the point is, they're threatening you with a crime for offending someone, and they'll actually say it, offending someone. That's required. That's the standard in the law, is offending someone. Such a subjective theory, you could never prove or disprove such a thing, and that's the basis of the law. It's crazy, man. That's my take.
Well, this law offends me, though. I'm offended by the law itself.
Yeah,
so does that qualify?
Exactly. No, because that's the right-wing offense, right? It's got to be a certain kind of offense, a very specific offense. It's got to be woke offense.
I want
Diana, you want to go?
Go ahead, guys. Yeah.
Oh, just Diana seems to be biting her tongue for the past 5 minutes. So
want to jump on her, Diana?
Absolutely. So, yeah. Before this becomes illegal, I want Sean Fraser to know that he's a pussy ass little bitch and probably has a cuck chair where he watches a real man fuck his wife for his anniversary because his penis probably doesn't work, because he probably doesn't have one, because he's a ballless little bitch. Anyway, now that I've got that out of the way, honestly, I do agree that this is a top-down issue, but who has been constantly standing up for the top? It has been the left. The left has had a complete go. So they don't realize that their freedom of speech is going to be taken away, because they can call for the death of conservatives online and not have anything happen to them. So in order for all of us to wake up and realize where we're headed, we're not just battling the top, we're battling their useful idiots who they have allowed now as degenerates, given them a platform. And when you give a degenerate a platform, that's the only validation they get out of life, is being propped up by media and the governments. And they did that on purpose to psychologically train people that if you want to have free speech, you will have to hate the conservative side of your country or those that see. These laws aren't about free speech or hurting anybody's feelings. This is about not being able to say, hey, I see a crime happening, and the crime is the government is pretty much taking out our rights. And so that the government can then just say, oh, well, you're racist. But the good news is, because Canada's such a fucked up, pro-left wokest country, you can actually use their loopholes. So you just put on some Justin Trudeau makeup like he did with the blackface, call yourself a liberal, tell the cops that you identify as a minority group, pick an 89 gender the long way, and just play it like they did that way. I did that in 2020. I pretty much told my employee that I was a transgender and my pronouns are doctor. And now that I'm a doctor, I wrote my own note and I said, I'm not getting the vaccine. And I did that in a bunch of places and stores. And I even had a fake digital ID thing. And my name on there was Sandy Vagina. Just because no one was even paying attention to it. You just flash a picture and people are like, oh, okay. Meanwhile, I had Sandy Vagina on there and the QR code didn't work. Exactly.
I don't want free speech to be gone, because that was amazing. I want to hear some more of that.
I agree.
Okay, yeah.
I agree.
So that's pretty much what it is. And I honestly think the left need to feel the pain that they have actually inflicted on us in order for them to understand what this is and how dangerous it is. Because right now they don't actually see a danger to it, because they've been allowed to talk and say whatever they want. And they're like, there's no such thing as freedom of speech. Now they're actually starting to shit their pants, because they're getting fired. They're getting evicted from their rental places. They're being ostracized online just the way we were. And they're finally starting to realize now, and they're actually talking about, oh, what if this new law decides to come in and then we can't say what we want? It's like, motherfuckers, this is exactly what we've been trying to tell you for the last 10 years. But now that it's affected you, now you're aware of it. I think we need to inflict a little bit more pain on the left and absolutely cancel the shit out of them, so that Canadians wake up and realize that your governments don't give a fuck about you. They only care about the immigrants that they're bringing in, because they're actually there to replace them. Once they're done replacing you, they will treat those immigrants exactly the way they treated us Canadian citizens right now. They don't give a fuck about anyone but themselves. And that is the one thing that the left does not seem to understand at all. And their whole thing is just sitting on a, moral virtue signaling high horse, where they're not able to reflect and self-reflect and think, oh, maybe I am the one that's causing some of this stuff and some of these issues. And so you need to traumatize people into actually waking up. That's exactly why so many people woke up in 2020. And that's why the left went back to sleep, and even more in 2020. So now if we turn that same agenda on those like fuckers, maybe it'll shake them awake, awake a little bit, so that they realize, hey, it's all of the politicians. Like, I shit on everyone. I shit on like Danielle Smith for the digital IDs that she's doing. And I find that the conservative side is much more willing to ostracize their own politicians that they voted for, which is what you're supposed to do, to keep them in check. Unfortunately, the liberals, they just vote and then they go carry on with their mindless, like, lobotomized thinking, and they just go, oh, whatever, my liberal politicians will just take care of everything. It's like, you just sometimes you just want to go full blown like asshole on them, but like there's no brain cells behind there to understand anything, so fuck them. I think we should inflict a lot more cancellations on them so that they realize what the fuck they did to us and what the government's actually doing, because they're the ones protecting the elites right now.
But wasn't it Yuri Bismanoff that said that the liberals are easier to radicalize and they're useful idiots? And they're the last ones to see until the boot's on their balls or something like that. So it would make sense because that they're using them. But let's make it clear. These people that are losing their jobs, they're celebrating a death of a man. Now, it's not like this was some General Mao or Stalin or somebody of that nature. This was just a guy challenging people with thought. Conservatives were canceled for questioning like politics, for questioning, using critical thought. There's a big difference between the cancellation, at least in my opinion. That's the way I see it. I still think we're on a slippery slope, but at the same time, they do have to feel pain. But I think we're going to feel a lot more pain on our side before they start to see what's really happening, unfortunately.
And I want to just let you all remind you something about the law and the way the law works on the criminal side of things. So right now, if you say something that's offensive, you end up in the Human Rights Commission. Okay, this is where they're putting you now. But if they turn this into a crime, which they're headed there now, there's a couple other things. Counseling a indictable offense is a crime. So you don't have to do the hate speech, but counseling somebody to do hate speech is also a crime. Assisting somebody who does hate speech, trying to help somebody who does hate speech. These are all now crimes, because anything that's in the criminal code that's indictable, these are all types of crimes. And we saw this with the convoy. So you didn't have to do mischief, but if you counseled mischief, you're guilty. If you're associated to mischief, you're guilty. Just being there, you're guilty. You didn't have to do it. So like carrying a trolley full of gas cans, that wasn't mischief, but you were helping the mischief. And we saw people charged criminally that way too. So moving hate speech from something that was civil before, like you can do slander and stuff like that, or we go to the Human Rights Commission. It was the individual who was targeted for that. Now it's the people around them. So if, on our show, here we are, we're having a panel. And if one person on this panel in the future does hate speech, and we said, hey, look, we just want to have a panel. Well, that could be counseling or assisting. So they're going for a really wide net here when it moves to the criminal code.
So if I do a video for somebody and somebody feels it's offensive, I can then be charged with hate speech too.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, that's wild.
That's where they're going with it.
We'll check the bill if you guys want in a minute. Like, I'll bring up some screenshots so you guys have an idea. But Tyann, I wanted to say though, feel the pain. I agree that they need to feel the pain, but I don't want the pain to come from the government. Because if free speech is attacked, if the bill that we're going to talk about soon is passed, everybody's going to be under their thumb. Now, cancel culture is a total different situation. At the end of the day, I always thought that cancel culture is funny. Because if you don't want to be canceled, this is how you don't get canceled. Fuck you, I don't care about your your feelings are hurt? No problem. Here's an email address. Who was it? Matt Rife said something that insulted people. He's like, guys, you know what? I opened the department just to take your complaints, and he was sending them to a website for soft helmets for retarded people. It was the funniest thing ever. It was literally the funniest thing ever. He's like, you know what? Don't give a fuck. And this is how you don't get canceled.
Oh,
you
yeah.
you choose not to get canceled. But I'm all for cancellation. Like a guy like Jimmy Kimmel, at the end of the day, his employer used the fact that he spoke against MAGA or Charlie Kirk to cancel him because his numbers, I was looking at them earlier, supposedly they're down 37% since he started. So he's barely getting half of what he was getting before. Obviously, they're not making money with him. He's probably costing more than he's making, and they just use that to remove him. But we got to be careful that free speech doesn't mean that there's no consequences to your words, right? If you want to celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, I got no problem with that. You're the asshole at the end of the day. It's not me. I'm not the one going out there celebrating somebody's death. But if your employer doesn't like it, if the person that rents you your apartment, your house doesn't like it, and they decide they don't want to do business with you, I got no problem with that, because that's not... No, I don't want people to be stopped from saying this. I want people to feel comfortable saying the dumbest shit they can think of, because at the end of the day, I want to know who they are. And the internet is great for that. People have the tendency to say whatever they want when they don't have somebody in front of their face that can smack them around.
But do you think that helped us though? Like, I think that those idiots that did that actually helped us on the right, because it pushed those people in the middle to realize how fucking crazy these people are.
Wait,
you know,
say it again.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification there. Like, what was the event we were talking about?
We're talking about, like, so
like what specific cancellation?
Like, if we look at the left celebrating Charlie Kirk, right?
Yep.
The far left, we'll say the fucking communists, right? If they celebrate Charlie Kirk, I think that helped us, because
it did.
100%.
It moves those people that are in the middle who, like, don't want to be called a racist and don't want to be called this, but, you know, they do share some values on the right. It's going to move them over, because they're not going to be want to be associated with these fucking lunatics that are chopping their dicks off and running around and screaming in people's faces and blowing whistles and asking to, you know, slaughter people in the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's segregating the left, the
From
guys
the
like Rob,
Yeah.
from the woke left. Like we talked about this so much over the past week. It seems that I thought it would further divide the right from the left, but what happened, because the right, because what did the right do? They started holding hands and singing and praying for Charlie Kirk. There was no violence. There was no retaliation per se coming from guys like me. We did what Charlie Kirk would have wanted us to do and just handled it. But it's guys like Rob now that are looking at the woke left and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's okay to shoot somebody for stating their opinion. It's insane. We can't be related to you. Like, what's happening? So it's really it's creating a gap between the woke left and the left that did not exist before. And it's coming here to Canada, because last time I checked, it was something insane, like 600 to 1,000 people lost their jobs for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death online. And I think that's hilarious. I seen some of the videos. People are crying for losing their jobs. I'm like, fucking Ron, you are a fucking moron, and for the first time in your life you're getting called for it, and it's fine. I've always had to be careful about what I said. I've been banned so many times off social media just because I said things that were actually true. But Meta didn't like it. But that was against free speech, right? Because it's the government that forced Meta behind closed doors. We learned that last year, that Meta actually was in bed with Biden and Kamala Harris. But what we're seeing now, people losing their job, is not anything with free speech. That's just, you're a moron, you've exposed yourself because you have free speech, but your words have consequences.
And that's not cancel culture either. Like, what was happening to the right was, like, you guys have all experienced having your account shut down, having to start new, being blacked out. Like, that is cancel culture. What happened to them, their employers don't want that representing their company.
Sure.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference between the two.
So,
like,
you're right.
So
you know,
I'm gonna make a prediction here, and this goes for all the conservatives. Take it from someone who is by the most left, who has
Anti-woke
recently been
liberal.
left. Yeah. Well, I changed that because fucking the way Tahana was going off, I could tell the audience all they see is the liberal. They're like, oh, he's getting ready to come back hard, and they come to me and be like, no, I agree. I agree. I'm pretty much agree.
You're always hard, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, so woke has got you guys, people on the right, you guys got to be shocked by how fast woke is going to collapse. Every time I say that to a conservative, like, no, it's way too powerful, way too never happened. Think of how unlikely it would have felt to the average peasant in 1600s when they told you the king was going to be beheaded in 5 years. They would say, unfucking possible, right? The French kingdom, or the king of France has held absolute godlike power for so long, it would have been absolutely impossible. But this is the same thing. You guys just think it's impossible because you've been fighting woke pretty much your whole lives. But I've been part of woke for some of mine. And I can tell you right now, it's going to collapse so fast because nobody actually fucking believes it, right? This is the thing. It is the absolute epitome of an emperor's new clothes moment. If you remember the emperor's new clothes, everybody knew he was naked, but what you didn't know is that the guy beside you didn't know that either. So you see the guy to the left and right, they're all saying what a beautiful outfit the emperor's wearing. He's strutting down naked, extremely proud of his outfit. And it took the words of a child who didn't know she had to lie to say, but he's just naked. And once she did that, the spell broke, right? Because now you always knew he was naked, but now you know that guy knows he's naked too, and that guy knows he's naked too. And instantly the emperor became naked. And that's what's going to happen with woke. Nobody really believes this shit. Nobody on the left does. Nobody thinks trans women are women. Nobody thinks human can change sex. It's polite lies, and they're all only believing it because they think the guy to the left and right believes it too. And now we're just waiting for that. Who's the child that's going to say it? Maybe it is the Charlie Kirk moment. Maybe that's the childlike, but he's just naked moment. It's a moment where not only do you know it's all bullshit, but you know that he knows it's all bullshit. And that changes the entire complexion completely when you sort of understand how group dynamics.
Do you think it's the same thing for immigration? Like,
that's on the chopping block. When I say if woke is going to collapse, I mean the liberal consensus on immigration is going to collapse. We're going to be looking at fucking shock that we were cutting off the genitals of teenagers 5 years ago. It'll be like the way we look at lobotomies today, right? People forget lobotomies were a legitimate medical practice at one time. The guy who invented them, which is literally just banging an ice pick into somebody's orbital bone. That's literally the procedure. That guy won a Nobel Prize, right? When we look at lobotomy, say nobody just thinks an obsolete medical procedure. We think barbarism. That's what we're going to look at with the trans stuff. For me, I think woke fundamentally is three key problems. You've got radical gender ideology, racist DEI policy, and insane liberal policies. These three issues are the ones most likely to break. Like most anti-woke liberals for me would still, like my people on the show say all the time, like, are you sure you're not a conservative? Are you sure you're not on the right? Well, no, we don't really talk about abortion, social safety nets, UBIs, role of government, progressive taxation. We don't talk about those things. But my position on those are still quite liberal. For the most part, the woke is a separate beast. It's a parasite within liberalism. It is not, it can be separated from liberalism, but it's been so ingrained in the left that so many people think it can't. They think that is liberalism. Whereas my push is more of back to a more classical liberalism on the left. And that's why I continue to identify on the left. Rather, ideologically, I'm much more close to conservatives, but I just rather make my stand here. Why should I have to abandon it just because the fucking lunatics are taking over?
Okay, so I got a question for you then. Just because you're on the left, and with this Indian invasion, do you not have like a bit of a change of thought about abortion?
Immigration policies are insane.
No, I'm talking about abortion. Do you
No. So I don't. So here's how I see abortion.
Like, no, but just let me finish. Okay. If there's 40 million babies, like, because I used to be like you, I used to be pro-choice, but now I see the issue with it. And I see how the marketing has been used to kind of, alter our perception and our thinking.
Yep.
So do I still think the medical procedure should be available in situations like rape or, harm to the child or the mother or whatever? Yes. Yep. Okay. But if we look at our culture and our society, we are underproducing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to replace our existing population with like something like 500,000 Indians a year. So has your perception changed at all with that?
So it's funny because I actually haven't heard abortion couched in those terms. My opposition to abortion would be to ban it on religious grounds. I like, for me, the issue really it's just a question of when do you think life begins? Because if you genuinely believe life begins at conception, then I have no beef with your pro-life choice. I too would be pro-life if I believed life began at conception. I just don't. I just don't, right? And if we don't agree on that, then we can just agree to disagree politely, because we will never be, because we're not even talking about the same thing.
So
right?
when do you believe life begins?
Well, somewhere between
Conception and birth.
Probably, well, no, probably fetal heartbeat, maybe 2 months in, 2.5 months. I mean, I'm all for a strict ban after, say, 2 months or what. I like that part can be debated. I just don't think the split second a sperm penetrates an egg, that is a person, a legal person. I just don't believe that. And it's not a crazy belief to believe it, but I just don't hold it.
Well, let me ask you, Rob, this and put it to you this way, because there's a difference between when life starts and when life is growing. Because I think conception is starts for sure. But what you're saying is more like viability or where
something like that. Yes, like.
But at the same time, at the same time, this is something I mention all the time because I'm a very pro-life individual. Like, I do not believe in abortion whatsoever. We'll argue on the 4% to 1% that has to do with rape, with incest, or something that could be problematic to the mother. But let's call it 95% for sake of argument of abortions are from healthy mothers. 95% and above. It's closer to 91, 99, but let's say 95. You know what? It is convenience. We live in a world that we are okay with sleeping around and not wanting the consequences. This is what it's become, and it's absolute madness if you ask me. But the hypocrisy that really takes the cake is, imagine tomorrow that they found a clump of cells on Mars. Every single scientist out there would be, that's it. We're not alone in the universe. We found life on another planet. But it's okay to murder clumps of cells that are living in a mother right here on Earth. It's so stupid. It makes no sense how the mental gymnastic that a leftist needs to have in order to condone murder. And I had one of the most known pro-life advocate in the world, and he said something on the podcast that blew my mind. Something like 33% of millennials are gone because of abortion. It's insane. Like a third of his, a third of my generation is gone.
And
it's insane.
Can I just want to answer WireTap's question, because you might be surprised. Like I said, if the grounds for banning are religious based or like life begins at conception based, I don't agree, because I just don't believe that's true. But if you want to make a completely separate argument that in terms of productivity for economic reasons, the sort of having kids is of such benefit to society that it's worth overriding the current right of the mother to abort it, I'm actually quite open to that argument.
Yeah, doesn't it make sense? Like, if we've been marketed to for the last
it's not a moral,
four decades, 5 decades, that, and you have to ask yourself, why are you being marketed that, right? Why are they telling you
eugenics?
More, what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
If you look, I think he made a point that 33% of millennials are gone. Did you know that in the last decade, 36% of our population growth came from immigration?
So that replaced it.
It replaced it. So this replacement
Yeah,
theory,
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
United Nations replacement agenda, it's true.
Well, I mean,
It's not a theory.
I've never
It's not
actually
a theory.
heard this.
It's
I've
true.
never heard this
Yeah,
argument
it's a
attached to
fact, yeah.
abortion. I've never heard this argument attached to abortion, what you're saying, but just my initial thoughts are, yeah, I mean, I could definitely get behind that. My position on abortion, the traditional debate has not of any love for abortion. I think it's a pretty ugly procedure, and the people who celebrate it and act like it's no big deal are disgusting. But I'm not a protect abortion at all costs. It's just if the balance of rights is a woman's right to sort of choose the sex of her baby versus a clump of cells, and understand, I don't believe, like, if a guy in a lab fertilizes that and then squashes it with his finger, I don't think that's murder, right? I just don't. I can't get my mind there. But I totally agree with something like, a fetal heartbeat. Like, basically, I need some justification. Fetal heartbeat sounds right to me. If I had to just go time wise, I think 2 months. Like, I'm not or abortion absolute.
20 weeks. 20 weeks.
I can be down with that. I think that's fair. I think a reasonable amount of time that a reasonable person might not know, which really a month, maybe 6 weeks is really pushing it, that you wouldn't know. I just don't argue. I know some people say, I didn't know I was pregnant. I shit in the toilet. Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. That just does not compute with my understanding of it. But again, I'm just mansplaining at this point.
Yeah.
Diana, you want to jump on this one? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Okay, so I'm about to. Okay,
She's been itching.
So I am one of those 4% women that can't have kids. So I was on birth control put on by my doctor when I was young, and I didn't know the actual repercussions of it. And I had 2 brain bleeds. So I can get pregnant, but I will die during pregnancy and 100% die during childbirth. So being told that, you really have to be careful. So now I can't go on birth control, and I'm not allowed to get pregnant. So I understand abortion when it comes to medical reasons only, right? But because I knew my condition, I made sure that didn't happen. And I was very careful and all of that. You know what I mean? Like, I took responsibility for my own body so I wouldn't have to kill a child because of my own neglectfulness or whatever. It's a personal responsibility. Then you have women who have completely lost the ability to feel anything for children, because what you guys don't see is a lot of things for women on women's algorithm is being pushed. Oh, if you're a mother, that's lame. If you're a boss babe, and if you're powerful, and if you act like these men. And then you also have a lot of women who come in and go, hey, my husband or boyfriend of 7, 8, 10 years abandoned me when I got pregnant. So now women see this, and now they're even more scared. So this isn't just a woman, like, everyone needs to start taking responsibility. If you get someone pregnant, it's 2 people. It takes 2 people, and it takes an act, right? The only time that's not a thing is during rape, consensual, rape. That's the only time that I could see, the hardships of which way a woman would go. That's not mine to make her choice. That's her to make her own choice, right? However, men need to start being men, responsible for their own lives and not acting like bitches. And women need to stop acting like a bunch of fucking men, because we've been pushed to act like men. In all situations, to be able to afford things. Then you've got the government on top of that putting pressure of not being able to afford children, not being able to, stay at home as a mom to raise your kids. Now the state is raising your kids, TVs are raising your kids. Everyone needs to start really looking at the situation from a personal point of view and taking responsibility as a human being to bring another human being into this world. You also, as a woman, need to sit down and ask yourself, am I ready to have a child? Am I mentally fit? Am I, in a situation like this? Isn't, people use having kids like it's something that you just do. And then they just let these kids just run wild, like with no parental supervision. It's just, here's a TV, slap some like chemicals in that kid's face to calm them down, not realizing that you are raising a completely different human being. That means your life will change, both as a man and as a woman. Men need to step up a little bit to help with child raising. Women need to realize, hey, this is a huge deal that I'm making. And I think we have devalued life to the point where everyone's just out for themselves. We have no unity. We have no family unity, you know, and it is now you're getting like the stupid mixed messages from like these trad wives, which also pisses me off, where they're like, just trust your husband, just sit at home and cook. Don't have a brain. It's like, shut
I
up,
don't know.
man.
I agree with that message.
Well, no,
it's good.
there is a very fine balance, like, you know, and it's just it's true though, and I think we all need to start evaluating, hey, this is life that we're dealing with. This isn't just something that you have so you can get likes on Facebook or, you know, fit in with your friend group. This is a private decision between a man and a woman, and it needs to be taken seriously, but we have devalued life so far that it's absolutely a huge mess. And I think that this is a very, very complicated subject where a lot of people need to sit down and look within in order to solve this issue. And this is why we're having birth rate issues in the West, and everyone's blaming, you know, feminism on one end. Yes, that is true. Absolutely. Like, I'm a woman, I work in a male dominated field. They're not toxic, they're just kind of annoying and stupid, you know what I mean? Like, I work with them all the time and I roast them, they roast me. Like, that's just how men talk, you know. But women are like, that's toxic. It's like, no, it's not. That's just how that's just man.
It's one of those, it's almost sort of like an Emperor's New Clothes thing where they don't actually think it's toxic. If they actually sat down and thought about it, they realize it wasn't, but that person said it's toxic and that person said it's toxic, and so it must be toxic, right?
Exactly. It's annoying, yes. You know, I'm married. I have a husband. I love him. I cook for him. I clean for him. Do I want to karate chop him in the neck sometimes when he pisses me off? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Because that's normal. Do I do it? No. Do I tell him I want to do it? Yeah. And then I just walk away, calm down, you know, and then I'll make him a really bad sandwich. Right? Right. So if he pisses me off, he's gonna get like lunch with like the cheese that's like really bad and the plastic in it. Because why? Because fuck it, I just want to piss him off for that day. But the thing is, I don't want him to go hungry. I still love him. I'll still make him food, but it's gonna just taste like
he won't like it though. He won't like it at all.
You're vicious.
You'll eat what you're given.
Hey, he still gets fed though.
Let me propose a couple of solutions. Because I've thought about this. This is something I talk about all the time because a lot of my audience is American. And WireTap, unfortunately, this is not even a conservative discussion in Canada because we don't have real conservatives here. We just have liberals in blue. Abortion is not even a question that Pierre Poilievre has the balls to touch. He will not address that at all. But hold on.
The balls to touch immigration either, though.
No,
like
he doesn't even have the balls to touch his own balls. So, but first and foremost, Diana, thanks for speaking the truth, because the part about rape, the part about where it's a medical problem, like that's why I always start by, let's call it, it's 1%, it's closer to 1%, but I've seen studies up to 5%. I always start with that. I don't touch that one. I will not debate that one. I'll let it go because I have no say in that. That being said, good for you for responsibility, because this is what it comes down to. Women and men. It's just, I cannot have an abortion. Obviously, I don't get to choose, but it's an accountability thing. We want to have sex, but we don't want to deal with the consequences of having sex. That's what it comes down to. And that's 95% of the cases. So it's not once every blue moon. It's literally 95% of the case. But there are solutions. To go back to what WireTap was saying, I've thought of 2 solutions over the years. First and foremost, adoption procedures needs to change. Like right now, if you look at adoptions in North America, there are more parents looking to adopt that there are kids ready for adoption, but it is so complicated to adopt that most adopt from a different country. Like I got a couple friends of mine. He's a black dude, she's a white girl. It was such a nightmare for them to adopt. They had to find a mixed baby because the baby needed to look like his parents. And my friend is purple. He ain't black. He fucking dark. Like he dark. So to find a kid that matched him, not the easiest thing to do. But not only that, but once they did find one, the mother, if I remember correctly, the time frame was 1 year. The mother still had 1 year to change her mind. So at any given day within that year last, they could come back, take the child away from them. Yeah, it's insane. So the adoption procedures need to change. And if you look at the US and even Canada, you know, you can go to an abortion clinic and it's not even a discussion. they don't even approach that subject anymore. They won't even inform the mother or the woman that's pregnant that she has other options. So not only do we need to fix the policies that we have for how hard it is to adopt, we also need to speak about it to women that are pregnant, to say there are options out there outside of murdering the unborn, because studies are coming out to show that up to 5-6 years PTSD are most of the women that had abortion. Like, sure, you see the crazies online that are almost counting how many they've had as a badge of honor, but the grand majority of those women don't feel good about that option. They just do it. It's just totally acceptable, but they don't know that they have other options. So we need to fix our abortion issues to make it easier for good parents to get access to children. And maybe that's a discussion that we need to have with women that want to get aborted, that want to have the child, the unborn aborted. Second solution for you, and then I'll let you go, WireTap, is make it easy for parents to have children. Maybe we talked about this on the show, Rob. Maybe we give tax break to people that want to have children. Maybe their mortgage rate is lower. There's a bunch of incentive. I don't want to give free money away, but how about we tax less? Right now, Canadians are taxed 43% of their income. 43% of their income. I did the calculation myself. Those numbers are not out there. You're looking between 6.1% to 4.7%, depending where you live, is what people are left from their income after taxes, rent, food, and clothes. It's absolutely insane. And if you put in cell phones, if you put in cable bill, like internet bill, daycare, and just having a child go to high school, it's somewhere between 91% to 103% of the salary, depending where you live. So some Canadians can literally not pay their bills. They're living on the credit card. So maybe that's what we need to do. We need to make it easier for people to have children, incentive wise. Don't give them money, but tax them a lot less.
Something that
before we jump there, I just wanted to just give everybody a heads up about Rob Anders. He's having tech difficulties. He did say he was available for the first hour. He's been trying for a while to reconnect. Something's going on. It's actually asking him for credit card information, which is really weird. I don't know what's going on his side, but maybe he wasn't allowed to speak any further. But he was available for the first hour. He did have some plans. He might try again, but it was asking for credit card info.
He didn't quit because of the swearing. He was like, those guys are fucking crazy. I'm out.
No.
I'm fucking out. I don't know who the fuck that woman is, but we're out.
I'm out. Honey, shut the door.
I literally thought it was me.
No, trust me when I tell you this. He's worse than all of you guys. He has a lot of things that he could share. Blew me away today. You'll see the episode coming out.
I dare say.
He touched on it there a little bit, and Tiana, she laughed at some of his comments about the love child. This guy, he's got some good stuff. He didn't leave because he was offended. No, he's having connection problems. Sorry about that, Rob. Go ahead.
I just want to say something right quick, and then we'll throw it to WireTap there.
No, go ahead.
But like another thing that might some people, like I certainly don't think most people who also believe that abortion should be allowed would hold opinions on mine, such as I don't think it's a good thing, right? Like I think it should be like I said, I don't believe that a perfectly fertilized egg, like an instantly fertilized egg, is a person legally. But that said, I think abortion is a harmful practice and it's destructive to society. I don't think it's murder, but it doesn't mean I think it's any type of good. I think government would have a strong role in doing everything it can to promote any abortion option but abortion. And I think there should be probably a social taboo on it, because I mean, sometimes accidents happen, but like that's the whole point of correction measures, is that you're more careful so actions don't happen later, right? But yeah, there's certainly a trend. Most people who are also pro-abortion also think it's a lovely thing and something that's great and should be celebrated, and those people are fucking sick. It's a destructive practice. I think Nico had mentioned PTSD rates. I suspect they're probably a lot higher. It's just there's a taboo against talking about that on the left, right? There's a lot of women, I'm sure, who know they can't talk about their experience, just being a spiritually shattering one. And I don't even mean that spiritually like religious spiritual. I just mean the human spirit that would just shatter your soul, as well as religious, if you also hold religious beliefs, of course. But yeah, I would like to see a move more towards understanding that abortion is a destructive force. And again, I keep coming back to this argument from WireTap. Is this something that's picking up steam? Is this a thing people are talking about?
No, I'm curious. I was curious.
And I think it should be a real argument, like in the culture wars or wherever.
Well,
I could be very convinced of this.
It's a big part of the culture war. If we look at our immigration issues, it ties to that. If we look at every issue we're dealing with, they're all interconnected in some sort of way. And if
like immigration, I believe immigration is, broadly speaking, when it's right policy, it's a good thing, but it should be used liberally, or bad pun. It should be used like this, like this. You should already be. Yeah, it should definitely not be applied liberally.
Hold on, I'm just gonna mute his microphone. We need to stop this. This is ridiculous. Oh, I didn't even.
You didn't mute it. Hold on.
That's it.
Society should be filling its own needs internally. Make the main needs. Like if you're bringing in immigrants for your needs, that's a bad thing. You should be already set at the things you need in your country, so that you can just pick and choose the cream of the crop from the rest of the world and sprinkle the best in. Like, to me, that's a correct immigration policy, not filling actual fucking holes in your society because something's gone horribly wrong.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
It's completely eroding our culture, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but Christmas does not feel the same to me in Southern Ontario.
And I'm not religious.
If we look at how this is all interconnected, and I do want to touch on something Truth Seeker was saying about the marketing aspect. If we look back, I think we're all like in our 40s or maybe
early 40s.
Early 30s.
Tiana's like 25 though. That's really rough of a comment you just made there. What a I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know what.
Thank you. I appreciate. I'm 39. I'm getting up there. Like I've lost the ability to give a shit anymore. I don't give a fuck.
but we know that our parents, what was marketed to them as children is like, our dads had tools that would have like toys that would burn the fucking house down, right? They had like hammers, nails.
Remember lawn darts?
Yeah, all those types of and you look at our moms, they had like homemaker kits. And so that marketing and from a young age was instilled to them, and that's why they had big families, right? And if we look at what's being marketed now, it's actually the stuff that's being marketed to us is destroying our culture. It's destroying our country. And it's all interconnected, in my opinion.
I agree with that completely. I believe mass immigration has been a massive failure. Multiculturalism, like when I was growing up, multiculturalism did seem to work, right? The people that came here seemed to actually want to be here. They loved the country. They may have been from countries that did not share their values, but they personally seemed to share our values. And the left, of course, shuts down any reasonable criticism of immigration policy by calling you racist. That's it. That's all I have to do. And everyone's terrified of it, right? It's obviously bullshit, because how can we fucking land at the correct policy on any issue if we can't even talk about it? The problem with mass immigration is not the color of the skin of the people that are being brought in. It's their cultures are fundamentally different. They are not being pushed to assimilate, and they are being allowed to congregate in basically enclaves that become societies within society, and it fractures society from the inside out. So I completely agree. Immigration policy.
Do you know what I see? This is what I see. I see us being guilted into turning over our country to people that have no interest in our culture and our society. Absolutely. And they're going to outbreed us because they have no problem living 10 families in one house, right? And what they do is they just jump and they buy the neighbor's house, they buy the neighbor's house next to that, and they keep going, right? Because they live in these communal groups. You got to remember, these people are coming from like dirt, like sandcastles. So to come here and experience like think about this. We got all these homeless people on the streets all over Canada. These are Canadian citizens that are
kicking Canadians out of the low income housing.
Yeah, and they're disenfranchised, but yet we're paying immigrants to come here, and we're giving them $200 a day plus hotel fare. Yep. Like, why aren't we taking those people off the streets and giving them a place to stay, getting them cleaned up, making them productive members of society, getting them off these SSRIs. These are the important things that we need to start implementing, but we keep forgetting. It's like we're being guilted, and in the process we're losing our country. And we have to start we have to start coming together as Canadians, as like they say nationalists, like we're post-nationalist state. Like they say that nationalism or being a nationalist is a bad word. It's not. Like there's nothing wrong with being a nationalist, right? It's putting your country first. And that's what Canadians need to start doing. We need to stop like aiding and abetting this bullshit. And we need to get serious. If we look at organizations like the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, like they're so ingrained in our institutions. They have their talons into our worker unions. They're pushing their communist ideals through their work toolkits or their booklets through our school systems. It's getting way out of control. And the truth is we're all asleep at the wheel, because in reality, we were just as bad as the Liberals at one point, as we thought like everything was great. Like our country
do you mean conservatives?
Conservatives and liberals, like I think for like 2 or 3 decades, we just thought that like, okay, well, everything's kosher. You can, you get a job for $25 an hour. A loaf of bread's like 89 cents, and a carton of eggs is $2, and you didn't have to worry about it. But now we're at a point where a loaf of bread's $5, and a carton of eggs is $9, and
it's boiling frog syndrome, right? We didn't notice it, even though we lived through it.
No, that's not true, though.
Some
that's
of
not
us
true.
noticed.
I mean,
no.
I'm talking about like broad consensus. Of course, there's always noticers, right? There's always
but on the left. But the thing is, the problem is we blame the left for a lot of the problems that are going on, like the past 10 years of terrible, terrible liberal policies that have literally destroyed Canada. Yeah. But at the same time, we talked about this, Rob, many times. I can blame the liberals all I want, but the conservative didn't do shit. We don't have real conservatives in Canada. Nope. The leader of the Conservative Party is literally, I had a buddy of mine, because I spent a lot of my time in the US, in Alabama, one of my bros. I'm like, could you tell me which political party that guy represents if I don't tell you? Democrat. Yep, that's it. That's the leader of the conservative, motherfucker. So that's the point. Like, Pierre Poilievre is not a conservative. He simply isn't. We have a guy like Maxime Bernier that's being called far right. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm a lot more right than he is. I'm a lot more right than he is, and he's a far right. Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? That guy's somewhere in the middle. So my point is, we let this happen, and we're still letting it happen right now. And this is one of the biggest problems we have in Canada. People support Pierre Poilievre like he's a conservative. There's a cult movement. As much as we like to say that people that condone Mark Carney or Mark's Carney are fucking in a cult, they're crazy. The same cult is happening on the other side of the fence with Pierre Poilievre. People are following that guy like, he's my hero, he's going to change my life. Motherfucker's been there for 20 years, hasn't done shit. He takes advantage of situation to prop himself up, but he's never been at the forefront of anything. Would you follow that guy to war? I surely wouldn't. That guy doesn't stand for anything unless it's been PR'd approved and everything's good and his people have told him, oh, you know what? If you say this, most people will like it. But we let that happen. We let a guy like Pierre Poilievre get elected as the leader of the Conservative Party when he's not even a conservative. So we have a massive amount of responsibility to take on the right for letting this shit happen.
Nico, Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay. I was just going to quickly add, and I feel like we almost want to decouple because I agree with Nico's point, and that's almost a big picture one, but that came out of the immigration debate. And when we're talking about immigration, I think we want to decouple this from kind of right-left politics, because I think, as WireTap said, this is just destroying the country. That should not be partisan, right? If something is destroying the fabric of the nation as a whole should be pushing back against this. Like the immune system of the society should be activating and repelling it. And I, you know, we've talked about this on the show a lot. One thing I always find weird is like, yeah, immigration. I think it was kind of getting more and more levels, higher and higher levels all across the West. But in 2020, something happened all across the West. If you look at the charts of like every single Western nation, Canada, US, Germany, UK, Australia, France, they all shot up like in substantial, statistically significant levels compared to all the previous trends. Why did that happen? Across the West, and with no public buy-in, nobody ran an election on this. Like if you want to run an election on open borders, mass immigration, and then you win, I would say fair play, clearly, you know, assuming the election's fair, but I think that's a whole other discussion. But clearly society wants that, but that's not what happened. It just, you know, it reeks of backroom deals and then.
Well, how they skirted around that was through the global compact at the UN, right? As the UN ran and, you know, part of their agenda 2030 was a climate immigration system because these deserts are going to get hotter, so these fucking people need a place to go, blah 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 blah. And then what they turned around and did is they wrote a universal immigration program for all the Western nations. Yeah. And then they felt
trying to make a law.
Yeah, so it's just like signing something like the convergence
UN treaty on refugees or something.
Yeah, like the convergence program with the World Economic Forum, right? Well, you know the blended finance system where we're turning around and giving money, we're taking in money from corporate shareholders and they're combining it with our public dollars, and we're turning into like this blend of communist fascist state where we're not even going to own public infrastructure in Canada anymore.
Well,
so,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's crazy how you always see this like when people criticize like refugees or the number of immigrants, you know, there'll be some fucking egghead who's like, oh well, you see, it's because we signed treaty 489P7 that we can't do it, it's illegal. Why don't you just rip up the fucking treaty? Like, why is that so? It's like that's not even a possibility to these people. Like that fucking piece of paper means we have to watch society be fucking ripped apart from the seams. I don't understand that argument. And the reason my whole point, that I'm almost done here, and I'll throw it to back to WireTap or Nico, whoever wanted to go. Or
not to Jason. Not to Jason.
Sorry, I shouldn't even gotten down that road. Now I gotta say everybody.
You have to be inclusive.
You look at the UK. They had fucking Brexit specifically to limit immigration, and immigration shot through the roof right after. So when you say like, you know, the conservatives should be doing conservative things, well, yeah, they should in an abstract, but the conservative parties are in on it, man. They're not going to stop it if they get elected. Like this has to be looked at as a social wide problem that is probably can't be solved by politics. It has to be solved by culture.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's happening to Charlie Kirk, like what happened to Charlie Kirk, I was describing earlier, the gap that's being created between the common sense liberal and the woke. This is what needs to happen, because I know people like Tyanna has been talking about this shit forever, and I'm screaming about this shit every single fucking day of my life. I have no air left. And the left will not listen to me, because I'm not one of them. I'm trying to play the common sense advocate to go find common ground, but I'm far right as per what they're concerned. There's a lot of this shit that they do I don't agree with, but it doesn't impact my life, so you know what? Okay. But it's going to take guys like Rob to say, this needs to stop, guys. Like, this is not about liberal or conservatism anymore. It's about fucking common sense at this point. We cannot take in this many immigrants every year and live in a welfare state. How many times have we said this?
It wouldn't matter.
Too many bodies. No, open borders and welfare states do not go together. Now, if you look at all our services, all our social services are destroyed now. Am I saying that immigrants destroyed our social services? No, but they broke the camel's back. They completely destroyed it, and now we keep giving it away. Like, no problem, you show up, you'll be taken care of. Never participated, never put any money into it. So this is just ludicrous, but it's going to take people like you, Rob, to say, guys, wake the fuck up. Because I can scream about this shit every day, but the left is not going to listen to me unless they get penalized, like Diana was talking about earlier. They need to feel the heat. And right now, they're not feeling it yet, because if you look at the vast majority of liberal voters, they're 65 and above. The food banks of Canada came out to say that 1 out of 4 households, it's 25.5% of Canadian households, are struggling to afford daily necessities like food. If you take the 65 and plus, I did the calculation, the real number is 1 out of 3 household. Because if you look at the 65 and plus, there were only about 19%. You know, there's a study that came out 2 years ago that just showed that if a unexpected expense of $500 came, 1 out of 4 people couldn't afford to do it. So if you remove the people that are voting for Mark Carney, that keep on believing that Canada's the same country they grew up in 40 years ago, those are the people that needs to be educated, but they won't listen to me because they fucking don't like the way I talk to them. So I don't know what it's going to take for them to wake up, but they are the vast majority of the idiots. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't be calling them. They're not idiots, but they're very naive to believe that Canada is still the same Canada. Do you remember when you came to Montreal,
idiots,
when we
they're
went to
just
record?
retards.
When we went to record in Montreal, do you remember what the Walmart looked like? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This was not like that 5 years ago. When
Yeah.
COVID happened and I lost everything, I lost my career over it, I moved to the fucking woods. I left for 2.5 years. I left the city and I lived in the fucking woods like a hermit. And then my wife and I left and we did 30 states in the US. So over the past 5 years, I haven't been in real society, if you will, not at least Canadian. When Jason came to Montreal a couple of months ago so we can record in a studio, we go to the Walmart and literally we were about the only 2 white guys there. All the women we saw were wearing the full suit and with the eyes. That's it. This was Montreal. This was not like that 5 years ago. So what you're saying that our borders was, or mass immigration has happened over, like what the fuck happened over the past 5 years? It's insane because the culture is not the same. I wouldn't have noticed if they assimilated to the culture. I wouldn't have known the difference. But you know, when you looked as a white guy, when you look to a feller, to one of the black guys there, you're like, you're Canadian, right? You like Canada, right? Do you know how fucked up that sounds in my head? I was looking at black guys. I'm like, hey, we're the same, right? We're the same, right?
Hey,
we're Canadians.
It's increasing domestic race relations.
That's the only.
But they're also.
All I'm saying is just a perfect example. When Jason came, I'm like, bro, I don't know what the fuck's happening here. I used to work around here. What the fuck is this? So.
But their culture.
Let me answer that one.
Oh, sorry.
Because I want to share an experience that I had in that Walmart. There was actually 2. One,
Jesus, I wasn't part of that experience. I'm walking away from that one.
Yeah, there was a person that got caught shoplifting, and there was a lot of people that came with that person. And this was an older gentleman, obviously. Had a lot of people with him, and they were trying to kind of get him out of the security situation. So I watched that, and you're used to seeing like kids trying to steal things, but this is not the situation. There was a bit of a swarm of thieves.
The value is different.
Maybe. And then one of them wanted to establish dominance on me. I'm just standing there waiting for Nico to go get the water or whatever he was doing. So I'm waiting by the exit. So the way he was trying to establish dominance is slowly walking towards me, backwards into me, and trying to push me back out of the, and I was off to the side, but he was trying to push me out of the way. So I gave him one of these, and I said, no, you're not doing that. And he gives me this look and then kind of realized it's not going to work and then walked away. But why in the world are they trying to, and Nico's not wrong, we were the minority in that group. I was being pushed out. I understand the game that they were playing there, and I stood up to it. Because I'm not going to take that.
They're also like they're incompatible. Like understand that. Indians ingrained into them, and I'm going to say this: they are taught to defraud us, rip us off. Like this is ingrained in their DNA. Muslims, they're told like when they say Islam's a religion of peace. No. Like their religion specifically tells them to lie to us. Blatantly lied to us. Like that's what their religion teaches us. We are the infidel, and we have to get this out of our heads that these people just want to assimilate to our culture and all that bullshit. And I'm going to send it over to Truth Teller because I know she wants to rip on this topic.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, okay. So I was an immigrant in Switzerland. I was in a refugee camp, and in that refugee camp was a bunch of like Bosnians, Serbians, Croats, Albanians, Kosovo. There were Syrians, Iraqis, like you name it. And I honestly would have sent 80% of them back my fucking self while I was in there. I'm not even kidding. They committed crimes. They literally told us they were committing crimes. They told us they were stealing. And so when the Swiss people were like, hey, you guys are all garbage, I could see why they said it. I could see why they were racist. You know what I mean? Like as a young child, I couldn't understand it. But now as I got older and kind of looked at the situation, I'm like, oh shit, half of these people would come back and steal. They tried to steal from us, like from, you know, other people in the refugee camp. And the first refugee camp was a bomb shelter under Switzerland. So you had like just a line of beds, of double beds, only like a blanket between you and the next person. And they would steal and they would be proud of that. And, you know, the Swiss trying not to be racist because that's what they taught them. Don't be racist. Oh, well, you know, let's go easy on them. Don't go easy on them. Fuck them. Honestly, most of these people are coming in that are bottom of the barrel. And there are a mix of good people, like my family and a bunch of other families who didn't want anything to do with that, who just got caught up in the mess. And that's exactly what they're doing with the open borders, is they're allowing families in who are normal, who want to get away from like the war, who want to get away and actually have a better life. But it's being accompanied by a bunch of people who don't give a crap about your culture, about your country. They don't want to assimilate. They're just here to take advantage of the socialist system. Which is why I said I want capitalism on freaking steroids, because 80% of them would leave themselves. And that was proven with Sweden when they just cut off all social help. Most of them deported themselves after 20 years of being in the country. And there's studies that literally a small amount of these people actually, you know, assimilate to the culture. This is why we have vetting, you know, strong vetting things so that you do only bring in the best. And I absolutely agree with that. As an immigrant who's now a Canadian citizen, I 110% believe in the toughest vetting ever to bring people into the thing. Because with these open borders, you've just let in the bottom of the barrel of any country.
It's the dregs.
Exactly. Like you're not letting in doctors and engineers. That's what they want. Yeah, they're not. They're sending criminals. Down here, when Donald Trump started to send the Mexicans back, the Mexican president was like, we don't want them. They're criminals. That's why we sent them to you.
That's what, well, yeah, because there's a statistic that like, and this is across pretty much all societies, that like 3 or 5 or some very small percentage of people are committing like 80% of the crimes.
Exactly.
So it's just, there's a very small amount of them, and but we're getting all of them from all the countries. Now, in these other countries, they're of course loving it because it is such a small number that if you can get rid of a decent amount, it actually makes an appreciable difference to your country. It of course has exponentially damaging effects, downstream effects on the host country, because while they're a small minority spread out, it's not that harmful to society. When they're concentrated and shoved in, it starts to cause like all those little faults get magnified by 100, and now the crime rates are exploding. I saw the number of rapes in the UK, France, and Germany has gone up like 750, 600, and 550% respectively since 2000. So about 25 years. Now but Poland has gone down 5%. Now, of course, what are the two things?
Obviously.
Poland's the only country that really said no to mass Muslim immigration. This is not a fucking coincidence. And you don't even have to understand, like, how could this happen? Just look at the mechanism is obvious. You're importing people, just look at their own fucking country. Like their countries, women are treated in many of them as second-class citizens. That is baked into their culture. It's not the law. The laws are reflecting the culture. The culture is not reflecting the laws. It is these are fundamentally sexist societies. And when you import large numbers of the people who believe that women are property, especially white women who are only there, they're getting all these messages of the, you know, the classic slutty Western woman and all the movies they see. And of course, Muslims from the Middle East, they think that like a woman shows her ankles, so you can do whatever you want to her, right? She's a slut. And so they come over here and they think it's a buffet. And of course the rapes are going to go through the roof. And it's insane how we're not allowed to talk about this. And Sorry, go ahead.
It's interesting that you bring up the percentages and the relation to the type of immigration, because that's something I'm working on right now. If we look at Canada, we've had extortion and fraud has risen by 400.
And that's an Indian problem.
Yeah. Child pornography and the making, the production and the distribution, also an Indian problem, is up 288%. Human trafficking, also an Indian problem, up 340% or something like that since 2016. And that's when we started bringing a lot of these Indians here. Like, these are prevalent. The relation between what my problem is with the government is we can recognize that mass immigration impacts our fucking housing. It impacts our economy. It impacts our political systems. But yet they try to tell us that mass immigration has no fucking issue on violent crime in Canada. Like, that's absolutely absurd. That's absurd. Because if our extortion's through the roof, what comes down under it? Murder, shootings, stabbings, arson, everything else follows underneath that. And we've watched this total increase of violent crime. Our streets are fucking unsafe. It just blows my mind. And you got fucking liberals like Evan Balgord from the Canadian Anti-Hate Network saying, the news is exaggerating violent crime. What?
It's actually exaggerated. It's under reporting it.
Let me bring a video up here because I think this is timely for this.
Oh yeah, my no square. This is the best.
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no square.
What the fuck?
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no square.
Oh my god.
So
First and foremost, nobody's gonna touch you guys. I'll be the first one to say you are not the ones that's being targeted by this shit. Maybe the guys in the back are, but the women in the front weren't.
That was a real PSA, though. Just to be clear,
Yeah.
that was not a joke.
real.
That was a parody. That was real.
Just that Zen saying, "Bro, I'm out. I'm taking my money back. I'm out. I'm going back home."
Yeah.
But one of the
Nick.
things that we need to address, though, is it's one thing to talk about the mass immigration. It's one thing I think we can all agree here that it's completely outrageous, but it's already happened. Like, even if we did like what I want to do and close the borders today, there's still a massive amount of people that are here. And one of the things, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative Christian first and foremost, and I do not understand how Muslim values connect with Christian values. Yet, I'm part of a group on Fridays, like a lot of big names in Canada are part of it. And we've had two Muslim guys over the past 2 weeks come in and make their sales pitch saying that there is a way for Christians and Muslims to live together in the same society. And we're going to have one of them on the show on Wednesday. And he's the one that organizes the Million People's March, the one that took place today, where everybody's walking together, Christians, Muslims, and atheists, against the LGBTQ crap that they're trying to indoctrinate our children with, which, great, everybody should be against that. But the question I have for you guys, because I don't see it, I don't see how Christians and Muslims can live together if it's okay to do the show of force that they've been doing, taking over streets to pray, taking over parks, to just literally telling us we're here to stay and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. Now we have a hate speech bill that's going to be that's been tabled yesterday, which basically protects everything from Jews, Muslims, to gay people, to LGBTQ, to feelings, literally. So no mentions of Christianity by Sean Fraser in 36 or 38-minute press conference. But the point is that I want to have those conversations. I spoke to the guy yesterday to tell him that it wouldn't be a lowball interview. You're not showing up to my show for me to praise you for what you're doing. I want to know what you guys think, because unless moderate Muslims, if they exist, I want to believe that they exist, but unless moderate Muslims that I keep on hearing about start calling out the extremists that want Sharia law in North America, the same way as a Christian, I call out the Christians for being too lukewarm, not having the balls to stand up for what the Bible tells us to stand up for. But I call out my peers because this is what we do. We call out our leaders, we call out our church members, we call out our peers. But do you guys think it's possible for Christians, for Muslims to integrate in a socially Christian society? That's how the other guy phrased it on the show, right? That we were, I think it was Leighton Gray that said that we live in a culturally Christian society.
100%. I honestly think so because, like, I'm from Bosnia. We had Muslims, we have Orthodox Christian and Catholic Christians, which are Croatians, and then like the Catholics and the Serbians are the Orthodox Christian. And as long as the government doesn't do it two-tiered, Muslims are actually just like the rest of us. No, honestly, like if the government doesn't meddle in and doesn't do the two-tier thing and is like, oh, you guys are allowed to pray here, but we're just going to persecute this Christian guy, and they fuel the fire, 100%. Muslims and Christians can live peacefully. They do so in Oman. We did in Yugoslavia before, like, they fucked us. It's the Sharia law. Sharia law is extremely dangerous because you're taking extremists with money, with backing of the Muslim Brotherhood, and you're literally bringing that in to try and take over a culture. It's not Muslims. It's the Sharia law extremists. Muslims and Christians and like we can all coexist fine because most of our goals are to live our own life, mind our own business, live in our faith, and just, you know, go on and be happy and have healthy lives. That is the truth for most normal people. But you have these extremists that think that, you know, their way of living is the only way of living. And then the government supports that because as a minority, they kind of like sneak their way into the government and they start pushing this stuff. And then our government isn't like, oh, wait, hold on. We don't do that in Canada. We all live, you know, peacefully. So they start the two-tier thing just to make the Muslims even more extreme. They did this in Yugoslavia as well. So then all of a sudden now you have people who are moderate, who have lived together for, you know, ever, now starting to think, oh, well, do you hate me? And the whole, like, you know, when the government started this was when they said, we can't offend the Muslims by saying Merry Christmas. I talk to Muslims all the time and they're like, we don't give a fuck.
They don't give a shit. And
they don't give a shit.
Even if they did, who gives a shit what they think about it?
Exactly.
So how do we do it? How do we do it, Ayana? Because I want to believe that you're right, because we don't have a choice at this point, unless we plan of deporting all the Muslims, which is never going to happen. We need to find a way to live together. So tell me, how do we coexist with Muslims that are trying to literally change the culture when the moderate of their own religion don't have the balls to call them out?
The reason why they don't have the balls to call them out is they're scared, just like we are scared of our government of being punished, right? They're a very powerful group. They're backed by a lot of money.
You're still doing it. You're still right here doing it. I'm still here doing it. Can you name me one Muslim influencer, one Muslim content creator right now in Canada that is talking against the extremists of, because I can't find one.
There isn't one in Canada, but there is one in the US who's talking about it. So there are Muslims who see it, and eventually either they will lay over and do it. They've done this to Syria. They did this to Lebanon. They did this to Iraq. The Sharia law, like these, I don't know their sect or Houthis or whatever they are so extreme in their Sunnis, they're so extreme in their beliefs that they will push anyone, and they love the liberal mind because the liberal mind is so open. And I'm just telling you right now, there's enough women out there who are absolutely unhinged that if you try to take away my driver's license of my own fucking truck, I will light this motherfucker by myself and I'll start the crusade myself. And then you're going to get a lot of other people behind you, because there is no way I'm going to fucking submit to a man in a dress who fucks a goat and tells me that I'm less than him because he has a penis. The only one I bow down to is the Lord above, and then my husband sometimes when I'm in the mood, because he pisses me off too. So honestly, and that's what it's going to take. Like, I am not going to take anyone telling me I'm less because their book says so. Eat a dick. Like, I really don't care. At this point, I've already gone through this religious bullshit with Yugoslavia. If they want to fucking do it again, that's when I'm actually going to get mad. Because, like, you know, you've got the government telling me I'm less because of this. You got this group telling blah, 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 blah. Like, fuck it. I'm so over it. Like, I'm way too old. You know what I mean? I'm tired. I just want my wine and I want to be left alone. So that's what's going to happen is you're going to have to get people who absolutely do not want to take this bullshit anymore. And they're going to eventually push so far that, you know what, I'll fucking kick woke ass if they, you know, are standing with it. I like legitimately don't care anymore. But we do need to talk to the Muslim community openly and be like, hey, listen, Sharia law is going to fuck us all, not just the Christians, the Muslims as well, the moderates. These are fundamentalist psychos. That's not a religion. They just took a religion, put in a cult-like thinking, and they're like, oh, this is how everyone's going to be. And then the politicians are holding them up on it. And so when people are wondering, oh, who's doing this to Europe? Look at who's funding them. Look at where the funding is coming from.
I got it's funny you mentioned how liberals love them. Have you noticed that the Muslim community by and large is not criticizing any like left wokest like LGBTQ stuff?
Exactly.
You know, they don't agree with the trans stuff, and that you'll see some protests if it's like their own kids in school or something. But like broadly speaking, they are not, because they know it's their fucking meal ticket. And as soon as they get that magic number that they can actually start taking political power, they're going to be the first to go. They're the one, you know, the Queers for Palestine motherfuckers are better take some flying lessons, because
Chicken for KFC.
Yeah, exactly right. But and there's one other kind of interesting correlation I noticed. Do you remember how like pretty much from 9/11 until maybe 2014 to 2015, Islamic terrorism was really common in the West, and then it kind of just completely, absolutely disappeared. It does not happen at all anymore. Almost exactly the same time as massive amounts of Muslim immigration to the West started occurring. So it almost makes you wonder if, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe try this one on and see how it fits. What if the guys because everyone knows Islamic culture, especially in the West, emanates from the mosques, from the imams, right? And that's why, you know, we all know moderate Muslims. We all have met them, but they have no sway, no influence whatsoever within the Islamic community. Because
what was the expression, bullet or the vote or the bullet? You know, remember,
or the ballot. They say it all the time.
Bullet or the ballot. Yeah,
and it's because the imams who are spreading the culture, who many times are the ones either funding or directing these actual attacks in the West, they're just said, hey guys, why don't you hold off now? Because, you know, what would, like right now at the same time as we're sending all our brothers from the Middle East to the borders, what they don't want is a bunch of Islamic terrorist attacks, because then there actually will be political will to close the borders to Muslim immigration. They want those borders as much as possible open, and because many of these guys are the ones who were directing the attacks in the first place, they're also the ones who are stopping them.
Yeah, let me jump in because I want to kind of get us back on track on a
oh shit, you're still there.
Yes, yes. Because Anti-Hate Network came up a few times with WireTap, and we haven't talked about Antifa being designated a terrorist group, but not in Canada. And I think these are going to become major problems, especially with this hate bill that's coming into place, because I think Antifa is going to be, they're going to feel justified, even though apparently they don't exist. They're going to feel justified to stand behind the shield of this new hate law. And Canadian Anti-Hate Network, let me share a quick story with you. When I was running for Parliament, I received an email from them. And they said, hey, in 12 hours, we're going to be publishing a story about your abortion stance. Can you clarify for us why you think women should be forced to carry babies? And you see how they framed it? So I gave them a response, which is very close to what Nico's mindset is. And I guess I didn't get frustrated enough with them. I didn't attack them because suddenly it went away. They didn't publish the story about me. They didn't respond to me.
Oh, they didn't get the goods.
Could be, but I was a candidate for the federal election, and they framed it like, can you tell us why you're for forcing women to carry babies? And like, wow, like I can see where you're going with this. But this is the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, which creates hate, and they participated in creating this bill along with the Center for Hate, Bias, and Extremism. Yeah, which is Barbara Perry.
Three abstract theories, like none of them are concrete.
We have people like that who is the ones who are behind these bills. She helped co-author Bill 63, and I guarantee you her fingerprints are all over this because she listed Christians as a extremist group. That's why they're not protected. Everybody else is protected, but that one. I wanted to actually go to Wire on this one because him and I have a lot of the similar posts lately. It's about, guys, you got to pay attention to Barbara Perry, Canadian Anti-Hate Network, these groups, and then Antifa, because they're becoming a bigger problem now.
Yeah, well, first, I'm going to give you my speculation on Antifa in the United States. I don't think Canada is going to list them as a.
Not a chance.
They're gonna play this as like an attack on democracy, and they're actually gonna open the borders to these fucking lunatics, and they're gonna give them asylum. That's what I think.
That'd be
Okay,
wild.
that's
I agree.
that's my perception on that. But I think the head of the snake is Barbara Perry, Canadian Anti-Hate Network. These people are very dangerous. And the reason why they're dangerous is because they're putting their communist manifestos inside all of our institutions. They're, our unions. If you go look at community, so what they've done is they created this strategic pyramid. And what they have is at the top, they have like themselves, and then they created localized community or localized hate groups, and it's under the Community Solidarity Flagship. And so they have a chapter in Ottawa, they have one in Toronto, Hamilton, one in Winnipeg. And then through that, they built other strategic partners through the Council of Canadians, which they're very connected to the worker unions. So now all of their teachings, all of their communist bullshit is being filtered into the workers unions. And like you take I have a family member, he's works for Canada Post. They sent him to Montreal, and he did like this re-education training on transgenderism, racism, DEI stuff. And when he kind of like gave me the rundown and showed me like the outline of it, you can go to the Anti-Hate Network's toolkits, and it's the same exact shit. And like they've actually implemented this into our educational system. So they're teaching these communist values inside of our institutions, like our schooling systems for kids. So they're programming. So what you notice is they really use that Bolshevik
Exactly.
tactic of like saying the other side's doing this, this, and this. They're radicalizing kids. They're doing this. They're doing that. But it's actually them that are indoctrinating children and bringing them into this extreme system. And like, we have to like really go at this as a group, as a core, because the only way the conservatives are like right now, like Chris Stacey and Wright-Blen spent all week asking politicians if they knew the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. These fuckers have been in Parliament. They've literally been in Parliament giving expert testimony on the Freedom Convoy, on racism, on Islamophobia. And like you ask who Barbara Perry is, they deny they don't know who Barbara Perry is. They deny they don't know who, Evan Balgord is, who Bernie Farber. Bernie Farber was a member of the Liberal Party. He ran, and if we look at what the Diagolon files, we go back to that and we look at these communications and stuff between the RCMP, and it's pretty telling of what's really going on. Like even the RCMP at one point started questioning like, what are their motives? Because it looks like the Canadian Anti-Hate Network is politically motivated. They more or less said that they're concerned about their influence on law enforcement and their targeting. They're concerned about their influence on media. So all this like woke shit that you see in the media, a lot of that, when they say our experts, our sources, this is who they're sourcing that fucking information from. And
yeah. Well, it's like WPATH with the trans stuff. They're not actually, they're just activists. They're not actually any medical board, but they're saying things, and then other, groups are citing them, and then the Pediatric Association who cited WPATH, they get now cited by the next guys, and now it gets laundered as actual medical knowledge and actual medical procedures. So it's the exact same playbook.
Yes,
but it gets
it's
worse
all
than
Marxism. But it's all Marxism, right?
It gets worse than that. Barbara Perry was being questioned as an expert in the Coots trial, and she was being asked, what makes you an expert? And she was, well, I'm an expert because I wrote a paper. Well, what's your references on the paper? Well, my own stuff. and there's a circle there with
All
herself.
circular.
Yeah, for herself. She's the one creating her own expertise based on what she said. She's making herself to be an expert. And unfortunately, this is the parliament's source for hate. Now, she didn't make it through the trial. It's just amazing some of the things that she said there. I hope those transcripts comes out one day, because she said to become an extremist or ideologically motivated violent extremist, or IMVE, in order to be one of those, you have to be one or more of these things: white, Christian, male,
Yep.
Wild.
opposition to the government. That was everybody in that courtroom. Okay, everybody in that courtroom, from the judge to the sheriffs to even the crown. They're like, you can see everybody's like, what? Like, that literally means, because she didn't say all of these things, you have to be one or more. So you can see where they're going with this. And now this bill, is it C9?
C9, yep.
It's the same thing. That's her fingerprint. It's got her same fingerprint on it. And she's been lying all the time. The one document that WireTap was referring to was a Hategate affair. Check that out, because there was a Freedom of Information request done. A whole bunch of RCMP CSIS emails were released. And even inside there, they're like, is Dialogue even a group? What are they, I believe, for? They don't seem to be doing anything wrong. And there's people pushing the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. Yeah, but they say that. And then I'm going to kind of land on this one. The bail hearing for all 4 men in the Coots trial, it had 2 sources brought by the Crown: Canadian Anti-Hate Network report on Diagolon and Vice report on Diagolon. Both of them were debunked. So the Canadian Anti-Hate Network one was debunked by the Hategate affair, and Vice Network went bankrupt. And in their bankruptcy documents, they listed themselves as entertainment, not news. So those 2 documents are what kept 4 men in remand for hundreds of days, because the court believed these documents to be true and thought that these guys were extremists and ready to kill the police.
And what's
But
interesting,
before, just
sorry.
let me.
Sorry.
No, but it's okay. I got a quote for you. Accuse your enemy of what you're doing as you're doing it to create confusion. That's
Projection.
Karl Marx. That's Karl Marx, the father of Marxism. And what you're
Yeah.
seeing right now, everything that's happening to Canada is Marxist 101. That's why I call Mark Carney Marx Carney, because he is a fucking Marxist. He has a massive boner for Karl Marx. And, you know, it's not surprising that they're going after Christian, because what is the number one thing they do in Marxism? Remove God from the equation.
Mhm.
Once God is removed from the equation, replace God by the government. And then what do you start doing? Remove men from the family. And then men can become women. This is something that's been going out through history before Marxism even existed. But that is how you you destroy a community. That's how you destroy a culture. That's how you destroy what we have right here. And we're seeing it happening in front of our eyes. History teaches us that it always happens. Just, you can go back to Rome. That's exactly how they did it. Men were not men anymore, so they couldn't fight their own wars. What did they do? They started letting barbarians in to help them fight those wars. What did those barbarians do? Hey man, those are all a bunch of fucking queers, so let's slash them all out. They're not gonna fight. Those men, women, they're not gonna defend themselves. So let's just get rid of them. What do you think's gonna happen here? This is exactly what you've been talking about. But like we were talking about earlier, the ballot or the bullet. That's a video I found online. That's a video I found, I think, on YouTube. And it's a history professor that explains that they're not going to conquer with a bullet anymore because they can't win that fight. We're going to fight them if they come at us with force. So what do? They use woke ideology. They use the left to infiltrate society, to get protected under those DEI crap, under inclusion, and then they get a 2-tier policing system like we have here in Canada, where they're protected, where did you see that podcast of 2 police officers that worked for the Toronto police, where they had a podcast on Toronto police headquarters, on a table that is labeled Toronto police in full uniform, saying how October 7th was a great time for Muslims because it brought back a bunch of people to the Muslim faith. 2 police officers out of Toronto said this. The outcry was barely nothing. They just removed the episode. No consequences whatsoever. That's the Toronto police, people that work for us. are supposed to protect us that celebrated October 7th, saying that there was a bunch of reverts.
And who?
Because but do you know that expression, reverts? Did you know that we are born Muslims, and when we are not Muslims but we become Muslim again, we're just reverts. We just go back to our natural state, and that's a term that they kept on using in that podcast. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
Do you know who opened the door for all that? That was the Canadian Anti-Hate Network that campaigned for that stuff, like for Islamophobia. 103, they were behind all of that. Everything you've watched in the last decade in DEI, transgender rights, these hate bills, hate crimes, online legislation, internet control, it's all been the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. And they're so disingenuous. Like, as Jason was saying, so just to give you an example, they just released a document about the Second Sons, okay? And we all know that the Second Sons have now gone further right. But in retrospect, if you look at that document, they are using outdated information, but yet they want to convince the public that they're coming in good faith, because they got a snippet from a OPP police officer who was not privy to the RCMP's final assessment because they blacked it out at the POEC, right? But Jeremy, when he went through his legal process, it all came out after. So what that blacked out part said is that Diagolon wasn't a threat. They're not an armed militant group. They have no organization. They're just a joke. But yet Evan Balgore just writes a whole report and uses that snippet from an OPP officer when he knows these Hategate files are out there. And he says, if you look at what this officer said, they are a violent, motivated extremist group. And then he talks about, in that interview with Rachel Gilmore, he said, you know something? He's like, I always got these right-leaning independent medias reaching out to us, asking us, and, the reason why I don't respond to them is because, like, we report in good faith. And I know that they're looking for an I gotcha moment. And they're going to just try to sue me. Well, that's exactly what the Canadian Anti-Hate does to everybody. Richard Warman brings almost anybody to court who criticizes the organization. And Richard Warman, and here's another thing for your online hate stuff. You don't even know that it's not generated by them. Richard Warman, when he worked at the Human Rights Commission, when Section 13 was available, what he used to do is he used to get a bunch of employees at the Human Rights Council, and they would all act like white nationalists and neo-Nazis online. They would bait people into making racist remarks, and then they would sue them. And that's why Harper abolished Section 13, is because he was abusing it. So he was influxing hate numbers and neo-Nazism, white nationalism. He was creating an influx of it, him and all the people, and they were exploiting the system. And then he would go represent himself as both, he would be the lawyer and the witness at the Human Rights Council, because it's not a real court. And then he would also charge the Canadian taxpayer expenses. Now, there is a rumor, and Ezra Levant brought this up in a testimony, that he has been suspected, him and other members at the Human Rights Commission at that time, were actually hacking people's IP addresses so that it would trace back to Muslim people when they were attacking the Jewish community. So if that doesn't tell you what these people are all about, we don't even know if these online stats that they keep track of are even legitimate. We don't know that they don't have their own bot farm and they're just running around writing racist shit about Muslims and everybody to try to like engage people into these arguments so that they can see, look, you see.
And this is the slippery slope of so-called hate speech legislation, right? A crime is a crime is a crime. If you're spray painting anything on a religious building, that is a crime of vandalism and should be charged with. The charge of the crime of severity shouldn't depend on the message that the spray paint is spraying. It's the act of the spray painting. That's the vandalism. We don't, everything that is an actual problem, there's already laws on the books for. We don't need to criminalize, or when you start talking about hate speech, now you're talking about elevating certain identity groups within society, and then you're just exacerbating more and more social division. One of the things me and Nico often debate about is we kind of both agree that things are fucked up and there's a lot of shit going on. It's hard for me to believe that this is being done intentionally by our government and our leaders. Obviously, you can imagine how Nico feels about that. But at the same time, like, I do have eyeballs and a brain, and I'm not quite there yet, but I acknowledge that if you flip the question around and you started with, if they were doing it intentionally, what would it look like? It's pretty much what we see.
Let me give you an example then, Rob. And
hold on,
I
Jason. I just want to address, but I just want to address something because I've seen that post many times. Tiana had to go. She works on the rig site. She got called up. She left. She was tired of these douchebags, so she went to hang out with other douchebags.
Oh yeah.
No, just Rob. We kept on texting. She's like, "Are you sure he's a dude?"
It's like, yeah, is this gay guy beside me? What's his deal?
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to answer the door soon, so I may have to pop off because my dinner's gonna be soon.
I think we're gonna close her. But yeah, go ahead.
The show's done either way, right?
But let me put a cherry on this, because for Rob's statement, I can't believe that they're doing this on purpose to destroy us. Like I was telling you about how these guys were held in bail, without bail, the Coutts trial. So all this information was given to the bail judge. She made her decision. They tried to get it overturned. She made the same decision based on those documents. The trial judge never saw any of those. The Crown didn't bother trying to bring that stuff in because it was never true. It was not in the trial. It was not brought in front of the jury. All of this diagonal on trying to take over the whole world, take over Canada violently, which kept the guys in remand via the bail judge, never made it to the trial. Why? Because it was bunked the entire time. And you can't tell me they didn't know that at the time. But they continued to use it. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is there was some bail hearings after. And there's also the appeals hearings and stuff like that. They still used them.
One of the things
that debunked and not brought for in a trial.
Gee, that's crazy.
All I wanted to point out is, with that hate speech bill that's just been tabled, they try to protect every single religion out there. They're trying to protect the LGBTQ community. Yet it is Christians that got 60 to, at least the numbers I've seen is above 100 churches burned to the ground over the past 4 or 5 years. Some people corrected me yesterday saying there's like 563. I've never seen those numbers, but it was a massive account that said that, so maybe there's truth to it. But I couldn't find one single synagogue destroyed. I couldn't find one single mosque destroyed. The best they could show me, the best I could find was a couple of broken window and a couple of tags. Yet nothing about Christians in that hate fucking speech. But I'm not going to be able to say that a woman with a dick ain't a fucking woman. Like, this is how ridiculous we are. Yet it's Christians that are prosecuted in the own country that we fucking built, and nobody gives a shit.
But if you ask Barbara Perry, and she was on TVO and she said this in an interview, that synagogues are being firebombed all over the country.
Zero. I did so much research on this. I could not find one single synagogue, one single mosque that has been destroyed. The only thing I could find, there was a shooting in a mosque somewhere in Quebec City, and there was a few murder victims. That is absolutely true. But that is the only instance I could find. And I'll be the first one to call it out. That is fucking wrong. That's one instant when you have hundreds of them for Christians. It's like there's no, I laugh all the time that only white people are racist. It's the same thing with this. Only Christians are hateful. But only Christians are hateful. There's no hate against Christian. That does not exist. It's a myth. But everybody else is hated on, And guess by who? Me.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up and kind of put this episode to an end, because this is by far exactly what they're going to shut down. These conversations that we just had here.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you highlighted there was those 2 Toronto police officers doing that little episode and how disgusted you were with what they had to say. Remember, this bill puts them in the decision-making process.
Mm.
They get to choose if it's hate or not. And that's scary.
Because it bypasses any type of legislator like the Crown Attorney. They no longer have to consult with the people that right now have to give their okay in order to press charges. The police, as per this bill, will now be capable, or at least that's what they want, be capable to do the judgment. And Sean Fraser was called on about that yesterday by the journalist, and he's like, oh, we're going to train them. There's certain courses that exist, and they're probably the same fucking courses you're referring to, WireTap, where they're going to teach them all the DI bullshit.
Anti-hate network stuff.
So basically, I'm fucked from all angles, is basically what they're saying. So this thing cannot pass. This thing cannot become law. We have to do something about this. I'm going to take it as a personal vendetta. I already started talking to Jason. I'm going to start approaching organizers because I want to do something massive with this, because this is not right. This bill cannot pass. It simply cannot pass, or else I will be jailed for the rest of my life. This is not even a joke.
Shall not pass, right?
Yeah. I'll grow a beard, although I can't, but I'll grow a beard.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, thanks for joining us tonight. That was a lot of
no worries,
fun.
guys.
And Wire
Yeah,
as
nice
well.
meeting you, Rob.
Yeah,
Pleasure
you
to
too,
meet
brother. Yeah, it was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
It's always fun to gayify the show a bit, Rob.
Yeah.
So thank
Well,
you for
Rob
being
may
here.
have created a new group. You may create so there's gays against rumors, which is we get this, but you might now be
I mean,
liberals
not actually
against.
gay, just for,
You might be liberals
for
against
audience
woke. You may have created a new
Yeah,
group.
exactly.
Yeah,
Liberals.
no, but
against
that's a
Yeah,
good
libs
name.
against woke.
That's a good
The-
name, though.
Yeah, I think it'll fly. Well, it'll separate out better here, because I think
Libs
if-
against woke. That's
The
good,
lib-
actually.
yeah.
That's
trademark
solid.
T-shirts. Here they come. We're just
yeah,
going to do this.
that's right.
But what
All right,
I
guys.
really liked, Rob, what I really liked about what you said, though, is that the woke ideology is going to collapse. Maybe
I
as
think it
fast
will.
as Building 7 did, but
yeah.
hopefully it's going to collapse.
Yeah, well, and I think something
Oof.
shitty will take its place. Oh wait, what was that?
Well,
Building
well done,
7
sir.
as fast as that one did.
well
And
done,
then threw
sir.
that one in
The
there.
one that didn't get a hit by anything, that just disappeared into thin
Oh
air.
yeah.
Just
Well
Good.
played, sir.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
played.
Collabs like Building 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a thief
Yeah.
in the night.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Well
Rob.
played.
All right, guys.
Wire, Nico, you're
Pleasure,
awesome.
guys.
Take care.
Thanks
Josh.
for having
Thanks for
me, eh?
listening, guys. Thanks for the
Yeah.
commenters. We see your comments. Thanks for being there. We'll see you next week, guys.